do you deal with psychological pain? And what is some
Yeah.
tips that you recommend to casual drinkers to get alcohol out of their lives?
Well, look, I mean, I think I mentioned the phrase personal development before. I just think when you go alcohol free for 90 days, it's the best personal development process you can go through, because now you've got the clarity and the time to look at your life, and you can look at things like, why do I strive so much for success? Why am I so triggered when someone says something innocuous? Why am I so angry at my father or my mother or my life? Right. And so, you ask, what are some tips for getting off alcohol? I mean, generally speaking, the best thing is do a personal development program of any type, because then when you do that, you become much more comfortable with yourself. And now you're not seeking something to relieve you of the discomfort of being with yourself. And that thing, in most cases, especially heavy drinkers, is alcohol. The reason people are reaching for alcohol is because they're stressed and anxious. And the reason why they're stressed and anxious, because they haven't done the work. They haven't done the personal development work, because they still don't know why they're angry at their mum or their dad or their husband or their wife or their job or their life. I mean, it's not a sexy answer. I know people want like a 5 steps to stop drinking, and I'm happy to give you some of those tips and strategies, but none of it's going to be as powerful as just knowing yourself. Now, I did a program called Landmark Education, and so a lot of people know about that. And that was instrumental to me. And that was one program amongst many. And I remember in 2017, I did 3 personal development programs back to back over 8 weeks. I was like, whoa, that was like my midlife crisis, where I was like, what is going on? I'm like having all these breakthroughs in my life, and they didn't always feel good. But I hugged my father for the first time in 30 years. I shaved my hair off. I mean, my hair was thinning at the time, and I was covering it up with like putting this substance in my hair to create the illusion that I had more hair than I did. So I was clearly making a bigger deal about my physical appearance than the normal person, I guess. And I did those personal development programs, and I had breakthroughs, and I'm so much calmer, so less stressed, so less anxious now because of that. And so I would submit to you, the best way to quit drinking alcohol is to know yourself, do a personal development program, and do the work, and run through the rose bushes and get cut up and get bloody a little bit. But on the other side, when you come out, it's beautiful.
Did you find out why you drank?
Well, I mean, look, I mentioned at the beginning of the call cultural conditioning, and I would suggest that really, I mean, I grew up in Australia where men were men, and we didn't talk about our feelings, and we just had the stiff upper lip, and we got on with it, and we went and watched the rugby with the boys and knocked back a few beers, and we went to the cricket all day and 6 hours in the sun and drank the beer, and we went to the backyard barbecues and have a few beers. Cultural conditioning really was what started it. And, it was hard to break free from that. And then later on, I was drinking because I didn't like where I was. It was uncomfortable being me. It was uncomfortable not being able to mask the feelings of, let's say, inadequacy at times, or an inferiority complex, or feeling scared about the future, or lamenting the past, all of that. And what's the easy thing to do? The easy thing to do is just reach for a drink. I'm like, I don't have to be with myself anymore. I don't have to feel these uncomfortable feelings. And it shows up for other people in eating addiction. I mean, that showed up for you, Alexandria, I would imagine. Yes.
Yes. Oh, yes. And so whatever like Dotsy's saying, I can relate, with sugar, for example, because if I feel uncomfortable, or if I'm at a party, it doesn't have to be a party. Just if I feel uncomfortable, I think of food. I think, what can I do to take me out of myself right now? And that's where I go. And other people go to alcohol. Yeah, for sure.
Other people go to love, love addiction, become obsessed and falling in love, or over romanticizing partners. A lot of men turn to porn, women turn to shopping. Shopping is like a stress relief. It's like, oh, I don't like being by myself. I'll go shopping. And so it gives you this temporary feeling, like pleasure, and don't have to be with yourself. Other people work too hard. or work a lot. Like they throw themselves into their business or their work and they become obsessed with their work and they justify it. Oh, I'm trying to create for the family, I'm doing it for the family, but really they can't sit and be present with themselves. So they have to distract themselves. I mean, I've been guilty of all of these things.
Yeah.
And, again, I can, like, through our program, we do give strategies for what to say to, encouraging you to have a drink. We have strategies for when you go to a restaurant, what to say to the waiter and how to cut back or how to stop drinking. We do all those things, but nothing's going to be as powerful as just knowing yourself and being able to be with yourself.